Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Michaela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Michaela. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today is Friday, which is the day of story time, or the day of our chapter exchange. If you are writing with me and you wish to exchange chapters, then send your chapters with written permission to writewithmichaela@gmail.com. There's no spaces in there. And I will post the email address at the end of the video. You can see what it looks like as well. I am looking forward to reading your chapters and your writing prompts, even if I can't read them all on the channel. All chapters read on Fridays, whether they are mine or another writer's work, are copyright protected material, and no one may use any part in writing their own stories. This story is PG-13, so if you're under 13 years of age, you need parental guidance. Mostly you've probably figured out that I don't write children's books. I've got a couple that I've written, but you have to be able to draw to do children's books. Anyway, this story is in its rough draft stage, just like the last two stories we've heard. The title of this story is Elloni's Pride. And today we are reading chapter 7 out of book 1. So the book 1 has a subtitle of Breaking Point. If you would like to read along, then send to the email I stated earlier and request a PDF of the chapter. Make sure you're specific. Now, let's start. Elloni's Pride, Book 1, Breaking Point. This is Chapter 7, The Villagers Scattering. Browser jerked awake as he heard the door to his cell open, and he lifted his head off his chest. His neck hurt like it always did when he woke up. Several soldiers entered, followed by King Damantade, and followed by more soldiers. Browser thought to himself, what threat am I that he needs to come with so many? You told me that when your arm, your symbol, King Damantade motioned with his hand, when that lights up, a dragon has hatched. But we searched the village. We didn't find a dragon. We found cellars and fire escape tunnels, but no dragons and no eggs. Browser wanted to laugh. How did this idiot think that the villagers hid dragon eggs in the small village? In the days of old, the dragons had nests around the village, but if the villagers had hidden eggs, how would a dragon fit in a cellar? And how would that dragon get out? King Damantade continued. We found no linkers either, to lead us to those dragons. Browser shrugged, and as he did, his chains rattled. You probably already killed all the linkers. How many children have you killed now? Browser knew he shouldn't speak that way, but as he did, he felt his anger build within him, and he knew if he could strangle the king, he would. He glanced around at the soldiers. Suddenly, he remembered a charm to catch a person's breath in their throat. But how many could he do before they severed him? If only he could remember that stupid word for lock. He could escape without fighting so many. Several words ran through his mind. They weren't quite right. He did feel that the word started with a B. So after the king left, he would go through all the words he knew that started with B until he found the right one. King Damantade watched Browser's face, and he had seen many emotions go across that face. He felt it was folly to keep the linker alive, but his prophet had assured him that the other linkers would come to rescue him, and he would get the linkers while they were young and unprepared to fight. Thus far, his prophet had helped him take over and to catch Browser, so he didn't make a move or a signal to squelch the man's life. He just watched the emotions that the man could not hide. He held up his hand and gained the attention of all the soldiers but two. Those two watched the prisoner. He said, "It is pointless to go back to the village tonight, since we know the dragons have already hatched. So double the guards for this man and catch the linkers when they come to rescue him." Then he turned and left. The soldiers followed him out, and the cell door slammed shut. Browser thought with Dronstein, "The linkers can't come. We must stop them." "Now you're thinking," thought Dronstein. "The rest idea is working. I've moved the chains a bit." Browser sighed. "What's the word for lock? I need that word." "I never remembered those words," thought Dronstein, "but you'll think of it." Browser sighed again. He lifted his head and tried to peer outside the cell. He saw at least 3 heads, but double would be 4. He would have to remember the word for lock, and then he could still the breath of the guards. He thought just after shift change would be the best. Soflin and Lydia found a passage into the mountains, but they didn't know what was on the other side. Then they found a little crevice that they both could squeeze into, so they sat and rested. Soflin told Lydia to close her eyes and try to see where her dragon was. Then she closed her own eyes and thought with Bradley. Bradley received. "Where are you?" Bradley thought. "I'm in the woods. I found Coulter. I don't know how to find Broman when I feel vibrations from Coulter." All in good time, thought Soflin. Now, thinking with another person is easiest if you cast the charm on them first. I will tell you the charm, and you cast it on Coulter for practice. I'm too far away for you to practice on me. Well, I shouldn't think like that. But, well, it's practice. Okay, thought Bradley. The first 3 words are Mercer, Silvus, Spiritus. Repeat them to yourself. If you need translations, I can provide them. Oddly, I think the first one means mercy, thought Bradley. Yes, it does. Let me know when you're ready for more. Bradley repeated the words to himself. He didn't know how he knew Mercer meant mercy, but they were fairly close. After a few minutes, he had her give him some more words, and then some more, until he had the whole phrase. Mercer Silvus Spiritus os infiltide decido trazir trof den name, filin do unicate nos. Bradley thought, I assume I say or think Coulter instead of name, so I'll ask my next question. Will he feel it or know that I've cast a charm on him? Some people will know when someone casts a charm on them. Others only know if the person casts a charm with ill intent. Other people don't know. Do I have to recast it? Charms normally last a certain amount of time, thought Soflin. If you use it continuously, like we've done the past 2 days or so, or 2 or so days, then it may just stay. If it's not used, it will fade faster. Bradley nodded his head and then realized that Soflin couldn't see him. I understand, he thought. I've added the words Das Trage to the charm I cast on you, so you can think to me now as well. Thank you, thought Bradley. I think we need to stay connected. As do I, thought Soflin. I found Lydia just as her symbol glowed. We will search for her dragon. Coulter's symbol hasn't lit up yet, and he fears dragons. Actually, he's scared of pretty much everything out here in the woods, so it might be good if he doesn't meet his dragon for at least a few days. Excuse me. Soufflin chuckled. The dragons are all supposed to hatch around the same time, but that time frame could be a season or a year. I didn't think he needed to leave yet, but he wouldn't be alive now if it weren't for you. Yeah, I know. And hopefully we stay alive. Yes, hopefully. Then Soufflin left Bradley to his thoughts. Bradley said the words over and over in his mind until he was ready to cast the charm on Coulter. Then, when he said the words, he inserted Hoshman instead of Coulter, without really thinking about it. He thought, can you hear me or get thoughts from me? Hoshman's group had entered the trees, and the little ones had immediately spotted some berries. So they had stopped to pick a few berries. Hoshman straightened up and pushed his eyebrows together. He thought, yes, I'm getting thoughts. I hope I'm not going senseless or mad. Bradley didn't see Coulter react, and the thoughts sounded older. He actually thought Coulter might speak out loud instead of thinking with him. Then Bradley realized that he had thought his father's name. Pa? Is this you? Are you Hoshman? Hoshman thought, yes, I'm Hoshman. I should know my own name. You also should know your own son, thought in Bradley, as he teased his father a bit. A witch taught me this charm. I was supposed to use it on Coulter. He's the younger linker. But I inserted your name. I've wanted to talk to you since I've left the village. I will need your advice. We left too, thought Hoshman very solemnly. I got your ma, brothers and sister, and Jarson's family, and we left. Did anyone try to stop you? We left without saying goodbye. People were going through their ashes, and we just left. I thought if you could leave and Lydia could leave. Lydia? The twin? She left by herself? He thought as he realized Soufflin just thought to him Lydia's symbol had lit up. Those names were entirely too close. She wanted to find her sister. She left without a thought of how to survive. I saw you leave and her leave, and I thought, what do I have to stay for? Bradley sighed. Pa, I had to go. Son, I know. I hope everyone left, and I hope the soldiers don't go back to the village, at least until the next full moon. That will give everyone a chance. Hoshman shook his head to himself. Without the village, I'm not sure how most will survive. But we had nothing left. No homes, no garden, nothing. What were we supposed to do? We couldn't stay. We couldn't stay. And you're casting charms and all. I'm sure the witch couldn't just teach anyone. You do your part, and we will do what we can to stay alive until this is all put right. Pa, Coulter knows almost nothing. It will be a long time before he can fight for us. Yeah, I'm not sure what the linkers could learn while they were stuck down in those cellars. I don't know how much stress I would have had trying to protect a child down there. As it was, I lost a child. I know, Pa, I know. Well, this charm worked, so I'll think back every now and then. I'm sure I'll need advice. And you probably missed something that's happened around you. I missed it when the first burning house collapsed. I wondered why you didn't even jump a little, thought Hoshman. Then he was alone with only his thoughts again. Thilda was standing and looking at him. But the children and Sylvie were still gathering berries. Hoshman mouthed Bradley to her and then went back to gathering some berries again. He found a few stones as well, so he picked them up and pocketed them. Bradley didn't know how many charms he could cast at one time, but he was glad to have a connection with his father. Then he realized that one of the words in the charm meant connection. He thought through the words and realized that unificate was the word. Just before he cast the charm on Coulter, he said if he saw a few stones. "Hey, Coulter!" He leaned down and picked up the stones. If you see any of these, pick them up. I'm not skilled at making arrows, but I need the stones to try." "Okay," said Coulter, and then the boy continued walking. Bradley cast the charm on Coulter and thought to him, "You just passed 2 stones." Coulter turned around and went back to pick up the stones. "Oh, sorry," he said as he handed the stones to Bradley. Bradley thought to himself that Coulter didn't realize any difference, but he would think with the boy a few more times before he talked to him about not talking out loud. Besides, the boy was already scared, and giving him the reason for not talking out loud might scare him even more. The Taylors, or as Libya knew them all her life prior to meeting them, the fairies, had her practicing all kinds of things. First, she was learning to read, and then she was learning stance, or some word that she didn't know, but it had to do with how far apart her feet were and how much she bent her knees. To Libya, standing that way was awkward. Then they gave her a stick, and she had to swing it to fight a tall tree trunk. The trunk had no branches and no leaves, and the fairies told her that it was dead, so it was okay for her to hit it. Libya swung her stick from this side and that side, with several tailors thinking to her to bend her knees more, or keep her body straight, or hold the stick higher. But the tailors didn't take turns, and Libya couldn't process all the thoughts at once. Libya swung the stick once more and felt lots of vibrations in her hands and body. She swung the other way, and the stick cracked and broke. Libya looked at the broken stick with much disappointment. Then she looked at her hands that still vibrated. Felicity motioned some things to the tailors, so some tailors took the broken stick after shrinking it, and several tailors led Libya back in the cave for a little rest. Once Libya was gone, the tailors fluttered to Felicity to discuss things. "She's not strong enough." "All in time," thought Felicity. "She has pictures in her mind of living in the dark," thought another tailor. "Yes," thought Felicity, "so it will take time to build strength. Also, it takes time to learn all that we want to teach. A young boy usually watches his pa practice long before he picks up a practice rod. Libya has never seen any of this, so she is skipping steps. It will take time, but our patience will last throughout her training. Should some of us go watch the soldiers and then come back and show Libya what we saw?" "I don't know," thought Felicity. "We already have a group heading to King Damontate's castle with Donter to steal a saddle. We don't need too many in that unpleasant place at once. Libya shouldn't use one of the soldiers' saddles. That will have too much negative energy," thought a tailor. "Donter said he would cleanse the stolen goods," thought Felicity. "Well, why can't he use what he's made?" asked another tailor. "Made?" thought Felicity. Then she used her senses to find him. She located him in the woods not too far away, so she fluttered into the woods with the group of tailors, fluttering behind her. In a little bit of time they arrived to Donter. There was a circle of tailors fluttering in the air around him. As Felicity fluttered closer, she put a finger to her lips. All the tailors across the circle likewise put a finger to their lips, until the whole circle around Donter had seen the gesture and copied it. Donter was intent upon his task. Before him sat a saddle upon a stump. There was a cloth beneath the saddle that covered the stump, and Donter had a paint palette in his hand. He was adding some golden paint to the green saddle. Then he fluttered back to look at his handiwork. Well, 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 thought Felicity. I do say that this is much better option. This is a much better option. Doctor spun around and saw Felicity and the other tailors that had added to the circle around him. I wasn't trying to deceive. Oh, I know, thought Felicity. After the paint dries, we will check out your handiwork. And, as I already thought, this is much better. Then Felicity and her group floated away, and she gave permission to a small group to fly to the castle and watch the soldiers practice. Lydia opened her eyes. I saw lots of stuff, she said in an excited whisper. I saw a path through the mountains. I saw trees and a river and more trees. Then I saw grass. At one point, the grass was taller than me, but most of it was short. And then there were some rocks, but there is an opening behind the rocks that leads down in the ground. And inside I saw a beautiful dragon. The dragon was green and brown, not black, like King Damontade's dragons. His dragons are scary looking, but this dragon looked friendly. Soflin chuckled a little. Well, my friend, I remember a time when all dragons had brilliant colors and were very helpful and not scary. The potions they're given takes away their colors and changes them all to fire-breathing dragons. I remember a time when we had earth dragons that could spit out dirt or rocks, wind dragons that could blow a nice cool breeze, water dragons that could spurt water onto your campfire to put it out, and mine dragons who were very intelligent, and of course fire dragons that could breathe fire. King Damontade didn't think the others were so powerful, so he wanted the dragons to only breathe fire. Soflin rose to her feet. Well, let's head out. And if you recognize anything from your vision, then you lead the way from there. Okay, replied Lydia. They headed out. After half an hour, Lydia stopped and stared at the mountain wall to her right. Soflin didn't interrupt. She just watched the girl. After a few minutes, Lydia reached out and touched the rock wall. Her hands felt an edge, so she eased around an edge and then another from the other side, and she was on a passage. Soflin joined her shortly. Wow, I'm glad you had the vision. After you ducked around, I saw your feet for a few seconds, but then they disappeared. This passage was hard to spot. This passage was mostly in the center of the ridge of mountains, and they followed it as it headed straight north. Okay, writers, this is a fairly short chapter. We have Libya, who went west with Elloni. We have Bradley Coulter, who went east and north. Broman wanted to go east as well, and then Hushman's group went southwest. Villagers aren't going the same direction, but they needed the village to survive. They need food. They will need warmer clothes for the winter. But this is a time for us to get to see some of the characters and do some character building. Now, leave a comment below on which type of dragon you would want. Would you want a fire-breathing dragon or a dragon that breathes water? Would you want a dragon that breathes earth stuff like rocks and dirt? Or a dragon that breathes wind? Or would you want a dragon that was a little more intelligent? Maybe he could remember the word for luck, like Dransnide does not. Which type of dragon would you like? What color? So leave those comments. What color of dragon you would want and what type of dragon you would want. Join me Tuesday for a writing prompt or some jargon. Join me Friday for Chapter 8 of Elloni's Pride, Breaking Point. Browser starts his plan. visit my website, bymckella.com, and read some character bios. If you read some, then leave a comment on which ones you've read. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and the bell so we can continue to write together. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, then please share it with them. This is Mckella with Write with Mckella. Bye for now.